So good afternoon, almost the end of the day here. I would like you to sit down, welcome, come join us for another session that we have here entitled Economic Opportunities for Hydrogen and Fuel Cell Development in Connecticut in the Northeast of the USA. With me, I'd like to have you join me in inviting on stage. We have Joel Reinbold, the director, and Laura Jaworski, I apologize for pronunciation, Director of International Affairs. So, welcome.
Thanks, Christine.
Thank you for having us.
Pleasure. There seems to be a large group of companies from Connecticut here at this show. Could you please tell us about Connecticut and its significance to the hydrogen and fuel cell industry?
Sure. The Connecticut has developed into a hub for the industry. Right now, there's about 500 companies in the supply chain, and these are companies that provide the components as well as some of the research and the OEMs. The OEMs include UTC that you just heard from, United Technologies. Other companies include Proton, which also has a booth here, Valence that has a booth, Dexmet, and Precision Combustion. These companies are all part of the supply chain. They work to provide some of the initial research, design, development, manufacturing, and the installation. Combined, there's about $500 million in total revenue. And maybe about 2,500 jobs in the state. Now, it is a statewide cluster, but it's also regional that extends into some of the neighboring states in the Northeast. It's a $1 billion industry with over 1,000 companies. Again, research, design, development, manufacture, and installation.
Great. So you mentioned the presence of a few major fuel cell manufacturers in the company list that you just said. Can you describe the number and type of companies and what they do in that region?
Sure. The companies have, I think, three focal areas. One is stationary power, and again, you've heard UTC explain their stationary power program. They've got large base load, combined CHP, combined heat and power units. Other focal areas include hydrogen production, that is electrolysis facilities to produce the hydrogen. And last would be the development of the PEM fuel cell technology for mobile applications, i.e. Bus and cars. So we've got a strong presence in the stationary power, hydrogen generation, and mobile power areas.
Great. So you mentioned the three different markets of stationary, transportation, and portable fuel cells. Great.
We do some research in the portable, not so much development. Most of the development is in stationary power, hydrogen, and the hydrogen production and the mobile applications. Not too much in the portable power.
Right, great. So if we were going to focus on the bigger picture, what is the potential of this industry, and can you predict where it might be going in the context of the state of Connecticut?
I think the future is bright. And that's because energy prices are up. There's a premium on efficiency, reliability, and base load capability. The facilities that are produced provide all of these valuable assets, efficiency, and they have the ability to produce both electric thermal energy from renewable power with hydrogen storage. So these are attributes that are well suited for um, um, locations where prices are high. There's a need for and a desire to use renewable energy, and there's a desire to have some energy storage via hydrogen. The outlook, the market is strong. It looks good. It's a global market. Costs are down. Efficiency is up. Exports are up.
Can you give an idea of the scale of that market in numbers?
Right now, we've got close to 1,000 units being exported throughout the world, throughout the, I think it's over 36 countries right now. So it is a global market, and the supply chain that's engaged in it is strong and regional.
You spoke about the different shipments that have gone out across the world, different fuel cell and hydrogen production units. Can you give examples of the different types of units that have come out of the state of Connecticut?
Sure. Base load, combined heat and power, stationary units, hydrogen production units, hydrogen storage units, PEM units for mobile applications, PEM for bus and automobile power.
I believe Fuel Cell Energy is one of the companies that you have there?
Yeah, two of the large baseload companies are United Technology and Fuel Cell Energy. United Technologies operates out of South Windsor, Connecticut. Fuel Cell Energy has got the research facility in Danbury, Connecticut, and their manufacturing facility out of Torrington, Connecticut. Both these companies have a supply chain that extends beyond the state borders.
Fantastic. I believe the Fuel Cell Energy does actually have the largest fuel cell park. Did you want to speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, indeed. Both companies have produced behind-the-meter facilities and fuel cell parks for grid power in the megawatt class size. And Fuel Cell Energy does have a distinction of having the largest fuel cell grid facility in the world.
Oh, congratulations. At this time, before we move forward a little bit more, are there already any questions from the audience?
I was wondering, in your opinion, what are the roadblocks for commercialization of fuel cells in the automotive industry still?
Yeah, thanks. I think that's a terrific question. I think one of the roadblocks is coordination, and that's why I'm delighted to be here with you and our collective colleagues. There is a roadblock in coordinating the refueling infrastructure with the deployment of the vehicles, and I know I would expect you've heard this before. What do you build first, the refueling, or do you bring in the vehicles? What we're working on is to try to coordinate some of the large automotive companies deploying in clusters for fleets, specified fleets. At the same time, we're queuing up and selecting some of the hydrogen production refueling facilities. So it requires independent third-party coordination. Now, this could be through government, this could be through an association, like FCHEA. I see Maury sitting over here. But coordination is needed, and without that, I think that's a potential roadblock. I think one of the other roadblocks is until you have that coordination, you can start deploying some of the hydrogen infrastructure at the same time you're having the deployment of the vehicles. You need to get that economy of scale so that the vehicles can stand alone economically on their own. That is, people will select them, not just because they're clean and efficient, but because you save money on a dollars or euro per mile basis. And the same thing with the refueling stations. The refueling station should be attractive economically. That is, they deploy and operate those facilities to sell their product for willing customers. Thank you.
Any other questions along that line or a different one? Okay, then we'll continue. Actually, a follow-up question to that. Would you be willing to bet a time scale, maybe plus or minus 2 to 5 years, that you could predict that what you're saying, economic viability for fueling stations for cars in the state of Connecticut and around would become viable?
Oh, I think it's just starting now, but I think within the next 3 years, within 5 years, I think you will see economic viability from the vehicles and the refueling stations, with customer choice based on economics. With the stationary combined heat and power units, I think they're viable now. I do provide a word of caution. Sizing is critical. That is, these aren't simply any facility fits any application. Sizing for the electric load, the thermal load, whether it's behind the meter, in front of the meter, whether you're net metering, getting wholesale rates, retail rates, and how effectively you can use the thermal energy is critical in running an economic pro forma and having a cost-effective project. And that's what I think everybody wants here. We want projects that work economically and provide that clean, reliable energy. So within 5 years, I think you'll see the vehicles out there, the CHP units, they're there right now.
Okay, we'll hold you to that.
Please. Yeah.
Great. Okay, so moving on to more general, the state of Connecticut in general, it seems like an interesting place to be. Why would a company from outside of the USA consider a presence in the USA and in particular in the state of Connecticut?
Thanks, Christine, for the question, and thanks for having Joel and I have the opportunity to speak today. I invite everybody to come by our booth at D75 to get a sample of the Connecticut companies who are there, including Proton Onsite, who's located kitty corner to us. We have some great information on the booth, a terrific white paper on the industry, not just in Connecticut, but also in the Northeast, and great information on the hydrogen fuel cell cluster in the state. The state of Connecticut is an advanced technology state. If you come by our booth, you'll see our motto that we empower innovation to create business success. And we work hand in hand with the company from project inception to project completion to make doing business in the state of Connecticut as fast, easy, and as profitable as it can be for your company. We're a hub for foreign-owned companies, and many of whom are not only in precision manufacturing, advanced manufacturing, but R&D. We have companies from around the world who choose Connecticut as a place to do business, and we're happy that those companies call Connecticut home.
Sounds great. So if a company were to come to Connecticut, what type of resources could you offer an external company to keep their presence or to start their presence in Connecticut?
We have a lot of resources, and one point that we try to drive home to companies who are looking to do business in the state is check us out because of our location. We're 2 hours from New York, 2 hours from Boston. We're in the heart of the Northeast with one of the most educated, highly productive, and skilled labor forces in the country. That's our number one resource, our human capital. When you start to drill down into what the state can do for you, we work with a lot of partner organizations like the Connecticut Center for Advanced Technology, our utility companies, our universities, to help bring those businesses into the state. At my agency, the State of Connecticut's Department of Economic and Community Development, we have a team of business development specialists who will work to match your company's needs and objectives with resources. And those run the gamut from technical assistance, helping your company increase their operational efficiencies, regulatory issues. We have a permit ombudsman to facilitate the permitting process in the state to sort of fast track applications. We work hand in hand with our Department of Environmental and Energy Protection to make sure that those permits are happening as quickly as they can so that your business process doesn't slow down. Site selection, of course, we have the most comprehensive database of commercial and real estate property. We work with brokers to really help companies find sites to build or sites that are available for lease, new to build sites to do business. And then, of course, when it comes to financing, and that's something everybody's always curious about, what can we do for you? And our agency has a variety of not only tax incentives, but also direct financing programs in the forms of loans and grants. So we can help a company on a one-to-one basis depending on what the scope of your project is, what your capital investment is into the state of Connecticut, make sure you're taking advantages of all the tax incentives.
And foreign companies can qualify for these?
Absolutely. We don't differentiate between foreign companies and domestic companies when it comes to business assistance. So all of the tax incentives that are available to not just a Connecticut company, but a New York company coming into Connecticut, or an out-of-state or out-of-country company coming into Connecticut, are available to take advantage of. That's one of Connecticut's competitive advantages. We don't have off-the-shelf programs. Everything is tailored to a company's specific business needs.
Is that unique within the United States?
I think so. I think it's. I think it is unique. Not to play regions against the other, but I think particularly in the northeastern part of the United States, you'll find economic development organizations who really customize.
Okay. Again, I'd like to invite any questions that people may have so far. If not, I've got one additional question. You mentioned briefly earlier about the transportation network. I'd like to hear a little bit more about what efforts are underway to develop this hydrogen infrastructure network for transportation within Connecticut.
Sure. The companies have coordinated and organized in a way that allows the two of our hydrogen production companies, Proton on site, and they're here, so you can take a look at their booth, and Availance. They make hydrogen generation technology. They are coordinating with the automotive industry to, again, coordinate the location of these refueling facilities with the release of the vehicles. And I think that was your question. How do you coordinate? And we have put together a planning exercise stage so that we can have staged, phased development where the refueling stations get used, the vehicles have fuel for operation.
So a map exists of where you would place all the hydrogen refueling stations across the state?
Yeah, we've got the companies identified. We've got targeted locations in Connecticut, and we have also started developing the plans for all the states in the Northeast United States. Accepting the fact that it's not all just about Connecticut. Connecticut is the hub, and that may be the starting point, but the transportation network will radiate out from New England and connect with other locations, as other locations like plants like where Germany has, for example.
How do you go about planning a hypothetical transportation network like that? You have a lot of players within the state of Connecticut. Who do you involve in such a conversation?
Well, we're looking at all the automotive manufacturers that want to bring in. We're looking at efficiency standards that'll be one of the drivers, and we're also looking at the companies that will provide the fuel. The other factor is the users. That is, we're identifying all the fleet vehicles, transit districts, and identifying what their needs will be for clean, efficient transportation, zero-emission transportation, no carbon transportation, and cost-effective. And with gasoline and number 2 diesel now very expensive, even in places like the United States, alternatives are being reviewed more favorably, and we've developed some of the financing packages and finance models to show just what the costs will be. So, we'd like to do some of the rollout, with the individuals, but also with some of the fleet clusters. And they have been identified by number and located, mapped. We map all these on a GIS digital platform, so we can email it to players as needed.
And if I just may add, Joel's mapping speaks to one of Connecticut's strengths. We might be a small state, but we're well able to leverage all of our partners to bring everybody into that conversation. So despite our geographical size, we're very well networked as a state in terms of the organizations who become part of those conversations.
So I hope some of these details, if people are more interested in reading, are in the white paper that you discussed.
Absolutely. We have a lot of collateral material at our booth. We invite you to come by. We also have information that's specific to all of Connecticut's incentive programs, our direct financing programs, technical assistance, our site selection programs, as well as a profile and information on all the coalition members.
Great. So that booth, if you want to go and visit them to ask more questions, is at D77. It's
75.
75. I apologize. Just down the way there. Thank you very much
Thank you,
to both
Christine.
of you for coming to talk to me today. And if you have any more questions, feel free to follow them at their booth D75.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Just leave your microphone down. That's fine. Thank you very
much.
much. So please do stick around. We have one more final talk for you today. It is on the subject of PEM electrolysis for hydrogen fueling and renewable energy storage. We have the president and CEO of Proton Onsite, Robert Friedland, here. Thank you.